It's 10 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. 4 members are present, 1 absent. Commissioner Clement is not with us today. We'll have an opening prayer by Rick Kerr of the Missionary Baptist Church in St. Joe, and our pledges will be led this morning by Commissioner Hollowell. If you would, please rise.
Shall we pray? Father, we're thankful today that we have the opportunity to come and be together in this capacity. We pray for your guidance and wisdom as we seek to conduct the business of the county. We pray, Lord, that you would continue to be with our first responders and all of our military, especially our military now, and all of the events that are happening around the world. We just pray for your guidance and your wisdom to the leaders of the world, that your will be done in all things. I pray today that you'd be with us, that we could be doing those things that are pleasing with you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Yeah. I, the flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
I was following you.
I was slipping. You were supposed to cover for me when I paused.
Maybe y'all had rewritten that or something.
I got to go back now and see if I can remember it.
The time changes, Paul.
Yeah. Item number 5 on our agenda this morning is public comments. Do we have anyone signed up for public comments? Item 6 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda includes non-controversial and routine items that the court may act on with one single vote. Does anybody have any issues with anything on the consent agenda?
I need to pull EM.
Okay.
Don't have anything else. I'd make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, less item M, by Commissioner Hollowell, and a second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Item number 7, presentation by Gabriel.
EM.
Oh, let's go back and talk about M. I'm so sorry.
There's a list of surplus items for the court's approval there, and there's a typo in that it says all those transfer tanks have pumps. One of them does not have a pump, just so we know. And Debbie and I'll correct it for the auction. With that, I'd make a motion to approve him.
Have a motion to approve M by Commissioner Hollowell. Second. A second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 4-0. Now, item number 7. Presentation by Gabriel Roeder Smith and Company of the Cooke County Physical 21 GASB 75 report. That's pretty complicated.
I will try to keep it not that complicated. My name is Dan Siblick. I'm the actuary from GRS. Shelley asked that I come talk about the retiree health medical plan, also referred to as an Opev plan. If you hear them. So these are benefits that are paid to retirees who are eligible once they get to the eligibility age, paid before Medicare, and this is the county, and this is GASB's requirement that you report the cost and the expense. I'm going to go over this at a high level. Yes. Opev is other post-employment benefits, so retiree health. So I work on pension plans, traditional pension plans where you get an annuity. This is the health side of that. So this is what they call Opev or other post-employment benefits. So I'm going to keep it at a high level, go over 4 pages in this report, and then if there's any questions, if I can elaborate anything, I figured we would do that. On the Cooke County Retiree Health Care Plan that you have in your packet, if you go to page A1, that's the executive summary. So that's the overall summary summary of everything in here. Your membership, there's 164 active people currently, and there's 4 people who are the current retirees getting these benefits. So we value the ones that are getting benefits now and the ones that we anticipate will get benefits in the future. The covered payroll for this active group is just under 14 million at 13.95 million. The total Opev liability, which is the number GASB the government wants you to capture, is this 1.886 million. So that's the liability for this retiree medical plan. Now, like a lot of numbers, it's just a number and it needs some kind of frame of reference. One thing GASB has us do is put it as a percent of payroll. So that 1.886 million is 13.5% of your payroll for the eligible group. One thing that may be helpful at this point is to compare yourself to other similar entities. We do a lot of these OPEB plans in the state of Texas for counties and cities. We every year do an aggregate report, which is a summary of these 121 Texas entities. So if you wanted to compare that percent of payroll for the entire group of the North Central Texas Council of Governments plans, 121 plans, the median percent of payroll, so half being above, half being below, is 27% of pay. So half of the plans are above 20%, it's 27% of pay, half are below. If you cut that down to the 25th percentile, say the 25th least expensive plans, that's 11% of pay. So if you compared yourself to this group of 121, you'd be just above the 25th percentile. We also break those results down by counties. We do 29 counties in the state of Texas. Those numbers change a little bit. The median percent of payroll there is 44%. So the counties are giving a little richer benefit. The 25th percentile, so being the lowest cost, 25%, is 16% of pay. So if you compared yourself to counties, you'd be in the lowest 25th percentile. If you compared yourself to the whole Texas group, you'd be a little bit above the 25th percentile. So that's these numbers captured in a nutshell. There's a municipal bond rate there, which is how we discount the liabilities. Everything in actuarial computing is taking what's happening in the future, discounting it back to now with probabilities and an interest rate. Interest rates are incredibly low right now at the time of this. This is the lowest interest rate we've used in a long time. So low interest rates create high liabilities. I can get into an explanation on that, but it's kind of saying if I needed that money in the future, if I was getting 7%, I'd need less now. If I'm only getting 2%, I need more now to give that money in the future. And the other item, other than the liability that GASB has you report, is the total OPEB expense, and that is $183,000. That's a way of looking at this year's payment on the liability and the cost of the plan. I know there was a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff. Does anyone have any questions before I move on? Okay, so that 1.886 million, we can go to page B1 and see it in a little more detail.
That's 140 in your.
It should show a reconciliation at the top. The end number there of 1.886 million was 1.995 million. That has changed over the course of the last year based on us analyzing the claims and the data and the growth from the prior year. So your total OPEB liability is down slightly from the year before. Again, we show the percent of payroll, we show some of the benefit payments that went into it. There's been no changes to the plan in this valuation. If there were, that would be part of the reconciliation from year to year. The change of assumptions, you see that 106,951, that is because the interest rate went down that we used to value, so that made the plan slightly more costly. Moving on to the expense will be on the next page. For me, it's B2, but just one page ahead in your report. So at the bottom there, you'll see some of those same numbers. That is this year's payment. The plan, it has components that pass through every year, and some things you pay for all at once, and some things kind of get mortgaged out like a mortgage payment. So the expense has the cost of the plan for this year, and then certain things get deferred and paid over time. In this case, you're paying things over about 11.96 years. So there's the liability and there's the expense, and these are GASB requirements that you report to the books what this plan is costing in both those ways. If we go to page C1, and maybe Shelley can help us on that, the page number.
Looks like it's going to be 148, 149.
Do you see 4 years of numbers, 2021, 2020,
Yeah,
2019?
it's, yeah.
So that is a reconciliation from year to year of this liability. In that same reconciliation we looked at, this is every year's liability component, with also explanations on the given years of what may have affected. You'll see notes to schedule down below, things that changed that may have affected the numbers. But one thing you can track there, if we go from right to left, as a percent of payroll, in 2018, the plan was 19.5%. Then it dropped to 15.5. It was roughly 15.5% again, and now it's 13.5% of payroll.
Well, I think we changed our healthcare plan probably in 19.
Yeah, FYE 19 has some notes there. We changed the healthcare trend assumption, that's an actuarial thing. Then the change of benefit terms, you remove the life insurance, added vision, and the HRA benefits. And there were some changes to the underlying Blue Cross plan.
Right.
So this is a helpful page. If you ever want to track this year to year, you can see how it's moving from year to year. And it has notes at the bottom of things that may have affected it. But as a percent of payroll, this is your lowest of the last 4 years that we're seeing. And as I said, we have 4 retirees in the plan. One thing that keeps your plan low as a percent of payroll is, like a lot of plans, you need a decent amount of service to get in. The coverage for current actives is a small window of only 3 years, I think, from 62 to Medicare. So they get coverage, they get nice coverage. The spouse has to pay basically their own way, but it's a short window of coverage that keeps the costs low. We have plans that go up to 100% of pay. Some plans are 200% of pay. So there are some very rich and expensive plans out there. As I said, this one's in one of the lower percentile in terms of the cost to the county as a percent of pay.
But we still have 160 employees that may make it to where we have to pay them from 62 to 65.
What is how do you become vested in this plan? Is it strictly age or is it tenure?
So that is, if you go ahead one page, after summary of benefits, in my packet it says D1 at the bottom right.
Probably, but they don't say.
Yep.
So if you look under normal retirement benefits, I think it's clearest there. Members hired on or after 1/1/1998 are eligible with age 62 and 20 or more years of service. If you were hired before that, you can become eligible at 60 and 20 or 55 and 25. So like I said, it's not like a pension plan where you get 5 years and you start getting vested. This is 20 years, that's common for a lot of the plans in Texas.
It's not like our vesting today,
Right.
the rule of 75.
This is in our personnel policy, and we grandfathered the 55, the ones that are on it now, but anybody else.
Yeah.
There are just 4 of those now, and do we have anybody else out there eligible?
I think we have a few.
2 or 3 drawing and 3 or 4 eligible, we're about done.
Right. So we won't have any more of the age 55.
Right, everyone hired now, and that's why I said the window is 62 to Medicare, and that's why it's kind of a tight window of coverage. They get good coverage, but for some people it's only 3 years.
Yeah, but we have a few that are grandfathered for the age 55.
Right, yeah, the current retirees are going to look different than this stuff.
That are currently working.
Yeah, right. And we track them, and we know that they can get in. And I can go into more elaborate detail on the deferred items that Gazzy makes your report, but this is kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Looks like a heck of a good plan.
Yeah, it is. I think the spouse has to pay their own way, but yeah, we assume 100% of people who get eligible will take it, and because it's such a good benefit. And then there's the HRA contribution of $2,000 as well.
And we had 2 options to go when this went into effect. GASB stands for Governmental Accounting Standards Board. We could have set up a trust, and once we do that, we can get the money back out. It can only be spent for retirement benefits. Or we book an entry on paper to account for this, and that's the way we chose to go. And so that's why we do this. And I thought it would be beneficial. This isn't a non-actuarial study year. So basically, they just do this to keep the, tell me what the words here. The numbers current. So next year, this year will be an actuarial study year, and then that will change the numbers significantly. They do only do that every 2 years.
We do full evaluation every 2 years, and in the in-between year, we do a roll forward, which GASB allows. That way, Shelley doesn't have to give us data every year, and, taking a good look at it every 2 years and the data we have found to be a good practice for our plans. And regarding the funding, 19 out of the 121 Texas plans that we work on fund to some degree. And some of them are more, they cost more as a percent of pay, so they want to not be caught like we're paying 100% of pay and we have no money in there. But retiree medical is different than pension. Like pension you have to fund because those people are always entitled to those benefits. A health plan or a retiree health plan, you can change that any day you want and change coverage and what you used to be eligible for, you're not. So in the pension world where they need to fund because you can't do that, that's much different. So again, 19 out of the 121 plans we look at fund to some degree. Usually it's the ones that are a higher percent of payroll that don't want to be caught with such a gap.
We do what, this is called pay-as-you-go, and because our budgets are yearly, the GASB is trying to make governments more like business, and what it actually costs us to have retirees on insurance. And so the $183,000 is what it's costing us to keep people on, retirees on insurance lifetime,
Yeah, for this year, the 150,000.
basically. And so that's what they're trying to present to the public, that's what it costs. So instead of, we budget just the premium for the year, but that's, they're trying to present, that's what it costs on paper.
So do you have any recommendations for changes inside? Any thoughts?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's working well. It's definitely not overly expensive. People are getting, you have more personal feel of how valuable it is to the people. Whenever you change these plans, there's employee retention. Can someone who was going to go to Cooke County go to Denton County or wherever? So you got to think of that too. But no, we have no recommendations. It's come down a little bit as a percent of pay, so it's less on the books.
But I just thought it would be beneficial.
No, it's very interesting. Yes, sir. I'm only sad that I won't be here for 20 years.
It's a
Thank you
common
so
refrain.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure.
Item number 8, deliberate and consider possible approval of court members' appointees to the Broadband Advisory Committee. Kind of give everybody an update on what that entails, is that in a previous meeting, we decided to create a committee of people that were more knowledgeable than us to go out and gather some information on what would be the best course of action for the county to take as it applies to providing our citizens with broadband or fiber optics, whichever one would be applicable. And it's probably going to be a combination of the two. I think that it's going to take both in order to meet that obligation of 95 percentile. But keep in mind that this committee cannot make any action on behalf of the county. They will only be an advisory committee to go out and see what all the options are. And it may be very well that Skylink or some other technology may come along in the next few years and make it cost prohibitive for us to do anything today. So that's the intent of this committee, is to go out and do fact-finding for us and then come back and give us different scenarios and different cost options. The people, Commissioner Clement's not here today, but he did make a nominee. His name is John Lindell. I am nominating Jason Brinkley and Jennifer Johnson Spence. So we're going to have a 6-person board, would be ideal if the court agrees. Do we have other nominees?
I'm going to nominate Sherman Moore.
Sherman Moore,
James Hume.
James Hume,
Chris Craigie,
Chris Craigie. How do you spell Craigie, you know?
Craigie, Craigie.
Okay.
And while I support Jennifer, we need to discuss this just a little bit.
Sure.
Because as an employee and normally putting in 40-hour weeks and stuff of that nature, if these folks decide to meet outside working hours, we need to be sure that somehow you take your time off during the week. Needs to be no overtime,
Okay.
and no travel.
That's fine.
Yep,
Okay,
perfect.
I'm good with that.
Because
I
you're
just-
employees, see.
Yeah, no, I
If you work
understand.
outside that 40 hours, then we got,
Yeah, this is a voluntary thing, not.
Right, yeah, and I just think, Jason and I have been talking about this the whole time he was judge as well, but this is something, even before that, I've been doing since I got here with Judge Freeman. He and I started and got the T-line to the library before anybody else did. It's just something that I mean, coming.
I didn't
from
ignore
our
your
team,
email.
so.
I think it'd be a huge asset, but because you're employed, we need to.
I totally
Guidelines,
understand.
and you need to understand.
No,
that.
I get it.
Okay.
No problem.
We're good.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we may expand this thing some more later, but,
Yeah.
I don't think we let it get large because, and especially, you're going to have a bunch of very intelligent people involved in this thing, and there's already going to be a lot of dialogue. Now, I think they probably need to go off and talk to our industry, our schools, our medical professionals, but they need to go talk to them, in my opinion, versus us appoint somebody from every one of these boards, to the board, and it gets so large, it's not manageable.
Can I, even like a survey, if we could do a survey somehow, just for everybody in the county, something
You're gonna
like
be
that?
part of the
through a QR code. I mean, that kind of stuff, that way you get the person who's been trying to get internet for 15 years, who's living in precinct 1 or down, stuck somewhere else. I mean, I hear it all. So if we can do those kinds of things, and Jason and I talked about that stuff when he was judge. So we've kind of been throwing things around in our head already. And the fact that the library does have a couple mobile hotspots that we're lending out, and we got through the CARES grant and stuff like that, that I think even to the people who come into the library, that'll make a big difference. Leave them a survey or stick it online on Facebook and you click on a link. There's all kinds of ways to do it now.
Well, a couple of benefits with you and Jason being on there. One is he understands the budget restraints and
Right.
the contract limitations
Exactly.
and all those things. And if there's going to be any cost associated with it, you guys know it's got to come through the court. Y'all can't
Yep.
sign up for anything,
Oh, yeah,
spend
no.
money, or engage in any contracts.
I don't want to sign up for anything.
So-
I just want us to see if it's something we can do and present the best options.
And you're going to
for you
present that to
guys.
the committee.
Yep, exactly.
See.
And we'll put together a little listing of rules of engagement that the court talked about from the previous one, just off
Okay.
the top of my head, is that we wanted to try to get 95% coverage.
Yeah, I
It
saw.
needs to be cost effective.
Right.
You can't spend $5,000 to get one guy that's on a barge out in the Red River. But we certainly want to put it in a position where students that need to get access in order to take classes, that we negotiate a deal to make sure that they get it and are able to afford to get it, same way with seniors.
Right.
So there's a number of things that we would like for you guys to look into, what the viabilities are of them. And we would like for you guys to look into what's commercial impact, because it very well may be that this thing will pay for itself, that the commercial impact will stimulate economy and growth of businesses here effectively enough that it would pay for itself.
The other thing, I don't know if you guys saw, Glenn Hager they're doing a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
town forums.
Glenn.
So there's one in Fort Worth, I think, this week that people are, they're encouraging
Jason's
people.
going, Brinkley's going.
Yeah.
And in fact, I
Okay.
think he knows Glenn Hager, I think
Yeah.
from his previous position.
Yeah.
Sherman Moore's going to Abilene or Amarillo one.
Yeah, there's-
So there's some folks doing it.
Yeah, there's a bunch, yeah, okay.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you volunteering.
I'd make the motion to approve the list.
I have a motion to approve the list of 6 names that I will provide to the county clerk.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. I think I got the spelling correct. Item number 9, deliberate and consider possible approval of appropriating additional funds for Abigail's Arms Physical 22. What we had discussed previously as a court, and Shelley is gone, is that there is a crosswalk fund that was earmarked, if I understand it correctly, by the court for the purpose of Abigail's Arms and CASA.
Child safety.
Yeah, child safety, I guess would be so not specifically for any one earmark, but for child safety as a whole. So we had discussed previously about giving 50% of whatever's in that fund to Abigail's Arms now to try to help offset some of their losses by state revenue that is no longer available. Do I have that correct?
That's what I believe.
Any discussion? Anybody have any input there? I'll make a motion then that we give 50% of whatever is currently in that fund to Abigail's Arms to help mitigate the loss of revenue from the state.
I'll second that.
Have a second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Item number 9, deliberate and consider possible approval of I'm sorry, that's what we just came from. Falling behind. Number 10, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding Main Street parking lot. We should receive the specifications the second week in April. I spoke with them again last week. So once we have that, we'll be able to go out for bids. Anybody have any other input on the parking lot? We'll take no action on number 10. Number 11, deliberate and consider possible action regarding the Crest Building.
No updates on that. Still waiting to hear back on.
No action on the Crest Building. Deliberate and consider possible actions regarding county radio communication system.
Got a couple of things there we need to discuss. I think I told you last court, the tires on the ground at Civil's Bend. Surprise, surprise, but the soil conditions exceeded normal, which is the way it was bid. They've got to do some additional excavating. Not going to go as deep with the piers, but increase the size of the slab, the additional excavation for Walnut Bend and Civil's Bend, with most of it being at Civil's Bend, is $72,451. So that's a change order we can anticipate. I went back and run some of the numbers for some of the overages we've had and some of the credits we received. And our overages and stuff are still somewhat less than what TCOG granted us as a grant. So,
Do we need a motion for that 72,451?
need to make the court aware that the change order is coming,
Okay.
so that, and if somebody's got heartburn, they need to speak now, so that.
I know that. I can certainly understand that occurring. We don't know exactly what's beneath the surface.
We need to, I guess, go ahead, I'll make the motion that we approve that change order when it hits, so that we can get it returned back to Motorola, so we can get it processed. So,
I agree, rather than waiting for the next court to come along.
That way nobody's surprised too. So I'd make the motion, we approve the upcoming change order and it should be for $72,451.
I have a motion to approve the upcoming change order for $72,451 by Commissioner Hollowell.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
The other thing, we now have all of our easements in place. We've received an invoice from Pentex for, I think it's $11,000 to run our electrical service to both Sybil's Bend and Walnut Bend. So I would make a motion, we approve that.
What was the amount again?
I think it's $11,003. So if we could say approximately 11,000, that'd be good. What that is get us from the main high lines over to the towers themselves. We had to pay for light poles and wiring and stuff of that nature.
I've done that recently myself. I have a motion from Commissioner Hollowell to approve $11,000 cost for electricity to be ran to the two towers.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, we got the GPS coordinates corrected so that now when you go FAA or any of those folks go look for our tower on Rice Avenue, it actually has the correct GPS coordinates. The paperwork's been corrected. The application for our frequencies and all's back in the works. And
Good.
So
We can find it now if we get looking for it.
it's not 2.5 blocks off.
Okay.
So, talk about Kenwood radios just a minute. I'm planning to, Ray Fletcher and I would like to meet with the volunteer fire departments, the leadership of the volunteer fire departments, I think on March the 29th. Adam, you can give me some input here that's probably indicative or representative of what you guys, being volunteer for fire department, would prefer. I think the court has discussed that the radios that we take out of the sheriff's office cars and the handhelds and stuff that come off their belts, that we would plan to give those to the volunteer fire departments. I hadn't heard any objection to that. So now then, the thing is, in doing some testing of those radios, they don't appear to work well consistently in the digital environment while simulcast. We thought maybe they could be tweaked. We don't have any confidence that they will work.
It's just the Kenwood.
Just the Kenwoods, okay? So, I don't want to give them to them and say, hey, here they are, they're going to work fine, and them not work will jeopardize somebody's safety, okay? So, where they will work fine in the simulcast mode is in analog. Now, our hopes was to take the volunteer fire departments to digital, all digital. Well, it looks like our best case scenario is give the guys the radios. They still have to all be touched to enable simulcasting. But analog simulcast should enhance the radio communications considerably, and we don't lose that safety factor. Everybody wanted to go digital. Digital's a little more clear, but in reality, analog will travel further than digital, as I understand it. But as you get farther away, it becomes more distorted. Digital will work out to a point when you lose it, you've lost it, you're done. So, before we wanted to go digital, in this case, it's probably not the best scenario. And when we talk to the volunteer firemen, which I'm sure some of them are watching now, so we're ahead of the game, our suggestion would be, hey guys, would you like to stay analog and inherit X amount of inventory that's certainly going to be beneficial to you, or go digital and either not receive them or receive them with the knowledge that you know, if you guys want to go digital, we can't guarantee they're going to work for you. It's not that they're bad radios, but in this scenario,
No, I think that we just need to share that information with them, let them make the decision. So, I mean, if it were me, I'd want to go analog, and
analog simulcast with the two new tires should enhance radio communications considerably.
yeah, I'm not a
But you
radio
two
expert.
guys are the volunteer fire guys.
I just think if you get that many frequencies going, you're gonna have an issue, just because of, it's hard enough the way it is now, trying to get everybody off of one channel to another channel.
Okay, that transition will be transparent, because everything, what we need to do is not just take the Kenwoods and make them analog. We need to take every radio out there that the volunteer fire departments are using and program them. If you remember, at one point in time, when we were transitioning from analog to digital with the sheriff's office and the police department, in your radios, you had analog, you had digital.
Yeah, but we don't have digital in the fire departments.
So you're not
At
on
all.
digital. So in reality, what will happen is, if we agree to this, is we'll go out and touch every radio in every fire department and enable the simulcast function. And the Motorola's would have worked
Yeah.
digital, but it's my understanding, we just go make those digital, you're gonna lose 50 or 60 radios out of the volunteer fire departments.
Probably more than that.
So I think the business decision here is go analog and truly believe that they're going to be better served.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
And they're going to
I
get,
just don't see.
I don't know the number, but I'm guessing we're going to give them 60 radios, 70 radios. Some handheld, some mobile. Because every deputy out there right now has got a Kenwood mobile, I believe, and a handheld. And my suggestion is we go program them all this time, give them to them long-term loan with the court's blessing, and we say, they're yours, you do what you want to with them, any future programming, you know, whatever you want to do with them is up to you guys. But I don't think we give them something and tell them, hey, we're going to go digital and this is going to work well for you.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to assume that liability. So,
I agree. I like the ideal of Ray facilitating a meeting and you and he speaking to it with the heads of the fire department. And
of course, that means it's going to transition off to 700, and that's a whole different world, whole different conversation. The initial concern that I seem to hear is they're concerned that they can't hear the sheriff's office on the 700. I think everybody knows now that the 700 are dual band. The radios will be programmed with VHF fire and, of course, the 700. And the radio is capable of scanning anything in a zone. So if we've got the fire channels in the zone, they will hear 700 and they will hear the VHF fire channel. And then all the fire has to do is notify dispatch, and the deputy can switch over, or they can go to attack channel. Take law enforcement with them.
that's something else we're going to need to do at some point is training, both for the sheriff's department and for the volunteer fire department, so everybody understands exactly what everything's capable of doing and how it interacts. I don't know whether that's something that we do or.
Well, Motorola signed up to train all end users for 700. Everybody that's got the 700 dual band radios will be trained. The fire department should be pretty much transparent as far as the radios, because they keep using the same radios. The difference the fire department will see, instead of having a fire east and west, there will be one central fire channel. And if they hit any tower, any of the 4 towers, then they're all going to communicate on simulcast.
Got it.
So, I mean, we're going to have a good system, but I think we need to, the decision, the right decision is to encourage the fire departments to take these radios and stay analog versus digital.
So you and Ray will work up some times to meet with the appropriate people?
Well, and what I would like, though, is the court's blessing to offer, if the volunteer fire departments so choose, these surplus Kenwoods, so that we're actually enhancing them. You know, they're going to get many more radios, which I'm sure will be an asset. Several $1,000s worth of radios.
I don't have a problem with it. If somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion from Commissioner Snuggs to offer the surplus Kenwoods from the sheriff's office to our volunteer fire departments countywide.
We're just gonna give them to them.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna give them to them.
Well, we can't quote unquote give them to them, but we give them long-term loans.
Okay.
I mean, here's my thinking. Like I said, we programmed them this time because we're causing the inconvenience, so to speak, and there's about 300 plus out there to be programmed. But because we got them through, some of ours through TCOG grants, TDM grants, I don't think we can quote unquote give it to them. We do a long-term loan to them, but then they take care of maintenance, any programming they want to do to them, anything of that nature.
Okay.
And initially, I think our plan to program is basically the 16 channels that we all have that are all like right now in order, which is, you guys have all got, you got a radio. It's programmed to Ray's suggestion. Now, some of them, and if they want to do this, and we can talk about that on the 29th, if Munster or Nancy has a unique channel that they want in them.
We do.
So we need to be sure that they get those in their program, but they still got to have our B channels that they use.
Right.
So, and we're going to continue to maintain, because I think this court's decision has been forever. But for those that don't know it, we're going to continue to maintain the VHF SO channel for the next couple of years, because they give Oak Ridge, Valley, all the incorporated cities time to make a decision if they want to go purchase some 700 stuff. I think everybody knows our plan is to give each incorporated city, with the exception of Gainesville, 1 700 mobile programs. Anybody, you guys remember that? That's
Yeah,
not
I do.
That shouldn't be news to you. But that'll go to the law enforcement. Still need to discourage right now, I think, any of the departments from spending their own money on 700s, because every 700 that is approved, we're going to pay per radio to Denton County to be part of the wide area network. Those things will also have to be approved by Denton County to put them on there. So, and I think our goal is that the sheriff's office primary will be used only to conduct law enforcement business. But that will ultimately be sheriff's call at some point in time. But I think we go get EMS and law enforcement set up and running on 700, and then we can go begin to look at, any other concerns or options. Electricity, we got that cut over at the Rice Avenue. I think all the electrical work's done. We were having some issues getting somebody to pour such a small slab for the LP tank that's going out there. Ultimately, Leon had one over at the precinct, preformed. And we're going to take a 5x10 pad out there, take care of that. The little road is complete at Sybil's Bend. We had about 50 or 60 foot of road to come off the oil field road home to the side. Tower should be at Walnut Bend today or tomorrow if it's not already there.
George, we never got a second on it.
Well, I'm going to restate that motion. Whenever Gary's ready for it. You ready for a restatement of motion?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to restate that motion associated with the communication system. Is the court is willing to loan the surplus Kenwoods coming from the sheriff's department on a long-term loan to the volunteer fire departments. The county, prior to giving or loaning those radios, will do the new programming. All programming after that or any other upkeep will be the responsibility of the volunteer fire departments.
Sounds good to me. That's the motion.
I have that motion from Commissioner Snuggs
I second
and a
it.
second from Commissioner Hollowell. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Now
Thank you,
that
Commissioner.
we said that, just a second. Shelley, there's no problem, I'm confirming, there's no problem giving them to the fire departments on a long-term loan, right? Okay. And they, while you were out, they were revised to the change order, and voted to approve it, but we don't have it. So, we're going to have to bring it back on that, or,
What do you mean you don't have it?
oh, you have it. You have that change order for $72,451.
We're attempting to approve the change order when it is received by your office in advance.
Actually, she has it because
Okay, then what-
hindsight, I emailed it to you. So we do have it. There's just not a hard copy in
the packet.
yeah. You agree, Shelley, did you find it? Came from Stanley?
You emailed it to me, but, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You emailed it to me.
Okay, so we're good to go ahead and approve it. It's under communications as far as line item. You good with it, or need me to bring it back in 2 weeks? Speak to me, tell me something. I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah,
Normally it's listed as an item on the agenda.
Yeah, but you know, several of these things now we've done under the communications, but you need to, you need to be happy. All right, I'm going to consider it done, court voted off. I mean, it's transparent. I mean, doesn't get much more transparent than broadcast on YouTube.
anything else on radio communications? All right, item number 13, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding the annex. The construction has begun, or at least demolition has begun. Everyone is certainly welcome on the court to go over and take a look at how it's progressing. Just be prepared to wear a hard hat. But I was over there Thursday, I guess, of last week, and it looked like they'd moved quite a bit of materials out. Have they finished the demolition yet?
Yes.
So we're building back.
There's nobody over there this morning. They're waiting on the steel structure guy to design
The beam.
beams, that sort of thing. I think that's next.
Okay, anything else on the annex? Any discussion? Okay, we'll take no action on the annex today. Item number 14, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding various grant funds. Shelley?
I got the 3 requested data, additional data requests submitted to FEMA. One was over 500 pages, one was almost 500 pages, and one was 50 pages. Hopefully we'll be getting some checks. The FEMA 2020 COVID, that reimbursement request is due in April. I'm still working on the CTIF submittals. I do have a question on the elections grant. Upon review, we only have $2,500 left to spend. I know in the last court or court before, the court agreed to purchase 2 machines out of election money. So we only have enough really to buy 1. Do you want to, because then general fund will have to pick up 1 whole machine.
I'm fine with that. Do we need a?
And then ARPA was going to pick up the additional,
We know we're going to need them. We had congestion even in a,
I don't even know if that's gonna be enough, but
yeah.
it'll help.
okay. All right. And then the American Rescue.
Judge and I talked about that. It sure looks like that we may not get that additional $4 million that we're been trying to plan on ways to spend it.
Well, I had stated my concerns about that earlier.
You did.
But unfortunately, we haven't spent it, nor have we committed it.
Right, and so just this article that they proposed to take the money. They did end up taking some of the COVID money. But I would still caution that there is a chance that they could come back and take some of it, not all of it, but some of it.
But could take all of it.
Well, if the European conflict gets worse, and somehow we get involved, I don't foresee,
Or just sheer politics.
well,
I think there's some politics involved in it, but I agree with you 100%. It looks sketchy. I'm not sure that we'll ever receive a penny.
And while you were out, we also agreed to give half of the child safety monies to Abigail's Army.
that we have on, okay.
Anything else, Shelley?
No, not at this time.
Item 15, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding the countywide burn ban. Any thoughts?
As of yesterday, I think we keep it in. We run pretty hard yesterday. Or the fire department's did.
Run hard.
Munster had 2, we had 1 in Lindsay. And another, a couple burns that were illegal burns in the county. So,
I don't disagree, but we know what started them. Did the burn ban help prevent them?
well, the 2 in Munster, I think one of them was a pumping unit, and the other one, we think, don't know for sure, was the wires, electrical wires. So that it wouldn't have stopped that, but it's still, people seeing smoke and knowing we're in a burn ban, it sure helps get the fire departments activated faster. And that was key yesterday, I promise.
Lake Ray Roberts, one of the park rangers or park police, whatever they call themselves, called me wanting to know what was going on, and they said they're going to follow our lead and enforce it, but, they can't have fires inside the parks, and everybody's there for spring break and everything, but
What do they do about their scheduled control burn?
they can burn that, but that's just
It's
not their
prescribed.
time. Yeah, it's prescribed. That doesn't affect them. I don't know when they're going to do
But
it.
that, people see smoke and that'll cause some, some questions.
But they do let dispatch know that, so that helps keep from running the departments out there.
He just said, they're enforcing it down there,
And so we don't think about that when we implement one.
Yeah.
It affects lots of
Well,
things.
they're telling everybody when they come in, you can't have a fire. People are still lighting them, so they're enforcing it.
Yeah. When we go to Colorado and we're in a burn ban,
100%.
you don't burn. And we're in that same, yesterday was a red flag and we hadn't seen one of them in years. So, and humidity was at 15% yesterday afternoon.
That's how I saw the red flag warning go out, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm glad we're under a ban.
The one that was in Lindsay was started by a lawnmower. So just got some grass up on it, and just a little bit, and it took off. Luckily,
We've never
we
gone this
saved the
long
house.
Without a bark ban.
I'm sorry?
We've never gone this long, that I ever recall, without having
Right.
put a bark ban on. So we were fortunate for.
And some people are concerned about the 90-day. A 90-day is just a deal that we can rescind at any time, but that it's just a blanket cover, that's all it is. If we start getting spring grasses coming up, it'll help a bunch.
Yeah, I'm fine leaving it on in a couple weeks and revisit it.
Yep, I agree with that.
I don't anticipate.
Okay, so we'll take no action on item 15, and the burn ban remains in place. Item 16, do we have anything for a future agenda?
I would definitely put the burn ban back on.
We'll cycle it. If I have nothing else, item 17 is adjourned.
Make the motion.
Have a motion for Commissioner Art to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Snuggs. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.